guys, what's up and welcome to another episode of The Good Cast Show. This one specifically for our segment where we review books with the authors called Good Books. So you guys can check out many other of our previous interviews with authors. But today's author is a lawyer. My goodness, what did I do? He has authored a book which is a collection of his blog posts, his essays, and his thoughts on law, his life, and as well as advice. If you're a budding lawyer, this would be a great book for you. Honestly, I enjoyed it, having dreams of wanting to be a lawyer once upon a time. And we'll get into that. But he's the man. His name is Fahri Azzat, and the book is called From the Barstool. Check it out. It's available on Gerak Budaya as we speak. I'll be sharing the links in the descriptions of all the videos posted on our YouTube and TikTok and Instagram as well. So you want to get yourself a copy. It's a very fun read. Honestly, I really enjoyed my time reading this book. It's 198 pages long. It has advice, it has stories, there's personal stories. You can learn about how apparently every lawyer in Malaysia confronts the occult one time or another. My goodness, we'll get into that as well. So many questions, so many points. So let's bring him on. Mr. Fahri, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Vinod.
Yeah, thanks for being here. As I said, I love the book, but I want to start off from the beginning. Something you wrote really resonated with me. TV shows.
Yes.
Okay, so when I was a kid, as I told you before we started, I wanted to be a lawyer. And the show that I was hooked on was The Practice. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes.
With Dylan McDermott, I remember I used to love those closing arguments and all that kind of stuff, right? And then, unfortunately, I made the mistake of telling my mother. I said, "Mom, I want to be a lawyer." And she brought her lawyer friend, and he sat me down, and he was quoting Ally McBeal, and he said, "It's not like what you see in TV." So I thought I'll perhaps do a service to people who want to join law because they saw an episode of Suits.
Yes.
Maybe get your thoughts, man. So what's the differences between lawyers you see on the TV shows and your life as a real lawyer?
Well, we have to understand these shows are fiction, right? And they're supposed to, they will amp up the dramatic appeal. So like you, in my early days, I watched a lot of lawyer shows, LA Law, for example, and, we got excited about that. Everything looks so bright, exciting, arguments are cut and thrust one after the other. And quite honestly, when I came back, I was so disappointed.
It's not like what you thought.
Yeah, it was so boring, You wait for your turn forever. You're always waiting for your file. Is it here or not in the first place? I came back in the days when files would go missing. These days you never hear of that. But in the days, your file may be missing, your application may be missing. And you sat around waiting for your turn, and it wasn't exciting.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like, we need another date to file a defense. We haven't filed the bundle. Can we have another date, Judge? So for the most part, you're thinking, man, where's the action?
Yeah. Where's Calista Flockhart? When is she coming out?
No, people in court weren't beautiful like in the shows, right? It was a huge dose of reality. Yeah.
But that's not to say that there's no attractive lawyers. I'm sure there are.
Yes, I'm sure there's some around. Yeah, just usually not in the lower courts.
No, I had one experience where I think I've been to court once. So I went there, and I was actually just there to watch something, to see a case. And I remember seeing all these lawyers. They were parking their cars. They'll come out and they put on their black suit or jacket or whatever, and then they'll be carrying this bag.
Yes.
And I was like, what is that bag? I didn't see it in the practice. What is this, right? So it's different. Now, in this book, there's one part that I really like. I found it very funny, where you talk about red flags that certain words or phrases that clients say that sort of make you you understand that person a little bit more. Can you share those sort of red flags, if you will, that you have experienced?
Well, one of those that always occur to me is money is no object.
Okay.
Another one is we're about justice. Yeah.
Okay.
And usually these two tend to go along together. And you find out as you go along that it's not really about justice. And money is an object, right? It's a big object. So yeah,
it's a barricade.
Yeah, it's a barricade, and they're weighing up everything in that whole financial kind of matrix, So to me, whenever somebody says that, I usually take it with a huge dose of salt now, And let's see what you say.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Now, I want to go back to the start because you do start the book talking about your times as a younger man, and you were contemplating what you want to do. I think your father had a conversation with your mother.
Yes,
Your mother had
mother
a
and
conversation.
father,
Mother
yeah.
and father, right?
Yeah.
But interesting enough, you wanted to do you want to do a major in maths, is it?
Yeah.
Mathematics?
Yes. I know that's very funny when you look back now
Yeah.
because I have even difficulty calculating discounts, rightly so. But yeah, I had a great maths tutor.
Okay.
Yeah, and his name was Mr. Nada, and I went from hating maths to loving maths because of that man, and that's why I always think of him as a magician. And he got me so excited about maths that I really, really enjoyed maths. To the point that I contemplated, okay, I want to study this some more. Of course, my father thought I was nuts. Like, no, young man, So I already knew that was their angle. So that's why I tried to pitch it as hey, law and maths, And but for my father, who's a little bit snooty because he's from Cambridge and stuff like that, and the only place that had it was Hull.
Okay.
So he was like, Hull is not a great place for law, Fahri. Why don't you think of something else?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then finally you chose law. And you went to Bristol.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And very much, it was the invisible hand of my father, lah.
Okay.
Right. And I think, I don't know, for people of my generation, I like to ask lawyers of my batch to say, okay, did you guys have dreams? Did you want to do anything else? And surprisingly, a lot of us did. But we were, okay, we'll follow the parents' wish. That's what they want. We're good Asian kids, so let's do this, But I'm very fortunate to have found a passion and a love for law as well.
Yeah, which you talk about in the book. Towards the end, you say how you're basically happy with your life where you are now.
Yes.
You love your job and all that kind of stuff. Despite all the, I would say, the stumblings at the early part of the book, which was quite
Yes.
funny to read as
Yes.
well. Right? Especially, I think there's one episode where a judge sort of shouted at you in court when
Oh, yeah.
you expected, hold on, what's the term? I think you wanted an injunction, is it? Or a pause or a...
Summary judgment.
Summary judgment,
That's right.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I love that concept of the judge. I have no idea how you handled it, being there in the courtroom, the judge yelling at you. That must have been crazy. Yeah. Now, before we get into the book, I think the lawyer profession is a unique one, right? Because it comes with a lot of jokes. It comes with a lot of misconceptions and all that.
Yes.
You've talked about, of course, TV shows and all, but in your practice till today, now you have your own firm even.
Yes.
What are some of the misconceptions that we laymen have on your profession that you may want to bust today?
Oh, yeah, all lawyers are rich. Yeah.
Fahri is, but just
No. I mean, I think we all do kind of okay, We're not like Elon Musk or we're not even like Tan Sri kind of rich, but I think you can make a comfortable life.
Okay.
And you can have a lot of fun in your profession. And for me, I think that's more what I'm geared towards, because I always say, yes, you can make some money, but we're not going to make crazy money here. We've got ethics, we've got constraints on our fees and stuff like that. So, so I would say people coming in also to think that law is where you make lots of money. I think that's also another misconception.
Okay.
I will tell you, I read Mahadev Shankar's biography, which he wrote, and I thought it was very interesting. Mahadev Shankar, at his prime, he was one of the top litigators in Malaysia. He was earning 5-figure salaries in the 80s.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so can you imagine?
Wow.
And this was the part that blew me. He said he was struggling still at that time because of, he had kids who were all studying in England and taxes were much higher then. So he said, everybody used to look at me and think, I'm this guy with just making loads of money, but actually, I'm struggling myself. And when I read that, I was like, yes, sir. I totally empathize with you on that level, right? Yeah.
Now, there is one part in the book that a conversation I think you had with a friend, or you talk about maybe a group of people who advised you at that time. And I think this part is very important. That's why I want to bring it up, is because I think a lot of people of various fields sort of come with this choice. they will eventually face this choice. And this choice was either you joining your father's firm or going out on your own and maybe trying it at a much larger firm and all that.
Yes.
But you chose to go with your father's firm.
Yes.
Right? Why? I mean, why so? And how, looking back now, how important was that choice to where you are today?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think I was very conscious about what I had in my father's firm. And I also had a lot of friends who were outside doing their own pupillage and their own lawyering. And what I realized about that was I had, actually at the time there was my father and there was my boss, Azzat.
Okay.
My father was a corporate guy. Azzat was a litigation guy. And I could burst into their rooms at any time I wanted to ask anything. And I realized that wasn't a freedom a lot of my friends had in firms where they had no family relations. And I saw that as a very powerful incentive for me to stay. Also, the fact that, my father had a pretty much hands-off approach to me in a sense that, okay, you do the work, you do it properly, the rest of your time is yours. You do what you want, and I'll support that. So, whatever law books I want, I just go and say, hey, Dad, I like this law book, you buy it. Okay. So I had that sense of autonomy and agency at a very young age. And that was very crucial because my father let me do a lot of legal aid cases.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And sorry, what does that mean, legal aid?
Legal aid, that means you do pretty much pro bono work for people who can't afford legal fees.
Okay.
Right? So I would go down to the legal aid center and take up cases because I wanted to get as much experience as much as possible.
You can do that?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay.
Back then, it was super easy. They were so desperate for people. You turn up and they'll be like, how many files do you want? Right?
Okay.
Now they are much more organized and systemized, and everybody knows, okay, you can do pro bono work. You get a bit more money now as well. So more people are doing it now, Okay. But back then, I saw it as an opportunity to practice how I would like.
Okay.
And being given that freedom from a very early age. Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, I will say it shaped me in a way that in terms of my outlook and how I want to practice as well, and I think this has kind of happened recently, where I could see that I had a more small town kind of approach to practice. I wanted everybody to be on the same page. I wanted us to feel a sense of camaraderie at the firm. And I was less about targets, numbers, about that grind of always having to earn more and more, And I can see that a lot with the KL practice set of lawyers. They're very commercially oriented. It's all about profits. It's all about returns. Whereas I see my practice more as like, okay, guys, let's have fun. We're going to earn some money. You're going to be okay with that money, but, we're not going to buy a jet, lah. Right?
The private jet is coming.
Yeah.
10 years down the road, 20 maybe. Now, the interest, I mean, I'm a fan of, crime stories and all this. So I watch a lot of, all these interviews of lawyers and all that. Sorry if I'm coming from perhaps another misconception of how interesting it is to be a lawyer, but I can't help it, right? But have you ever gone to or heard a friend or a lawyer practicing a case or being part of a case? I think the term is, being in that case and saying, man, I wish I was part of that case. Have you ever seen any cases happening maybe in the public sphere that you said, I wish I was part of that?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Such as, do you have any examples?
Yeah, I mean, some of those public interest cases you see, how should I say? Okay, wait. I've kind of been on some myself, so I'm trying to think of some that I would like to be on.
Two of it I would like to touch on later, but yeah, please go on.
Right. I would say those constitutional cases that come up, where you're talking about, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, right? One of those that I would wish I were on, but I don't have expertise in that area, was statelessness.
Okay.
Yeah, statelessness. Like, I like some of the work that's been going on to recognize the children born to women who are live in Malaysia, right? So those kind of cases where it brings a real change, those are the cases I wish sometimes I were in.
Okay.
Or interesting criminal cases, lah.
Okay.
Right? Like the murder of that guy who was in Mutiara, Damansara. He lived there and then his wife killed him. It was just a stone throw away from my house, right? I do murder cases and I was like,
Really?
that's juicy. Yeah, I do a lot of capital offense punishment cases.
Can you talk about them? I mean,
yeah,
you can.
Yeah.
Well, if you can, then I mean, on my Netflix, you can see just all crime. So I think everybody is like that. Now, but guys, one of the cases that he has taken part in was actually a pretty popular case at that time, was one you argued on behalf of Indira Gandhi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
For those of you all who may not remember, it was a case when her husband converted without her knowing, along with her children, right? Why did you take part in that case? And okay, but before that, sorry, just one more thing. As a lawyer, and I think maybe you may get this question a lot, was there ever sort of an inner conflict for you to partake in that case, considering you are a Muslim?
No.
Never.
Not at all.
Okay.
Never. Yeah. People are people. We're all human beings, you know. And I don't draw this distinction between Muslim, Hindu, Chinese, Indian. I'm kind of colorblind in that respect.
Yeah.
But
you married a Chinese as well. So.
Sorry?
Your wife's a Chinese.
Yeah, my wife's Chinese. I'm
so
half Chinese. So
same group.
Yeah, my best friends are Indian, you know, and so to me, I don't see these colors as distinguishing us. But coming to the point of how I got into Indira Gandhi, really it was two of my very good friends, and I would call them my intellectual mentors as well, K. Shanmuga and Estam Philip Piver. So they were both working on that case. And that case actually, by the time you saw that federal court case in that was groundbreaking and all that, landmark, we were already 10 years in.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were fighting that
10
case.
years in?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a 10-year litigation that started in the Ipoh High Courts. And we would go up and down for all those cases until, it reached the Court of Appeal and then the federal court. And that was the end of it, right? Wow. So how I got involved really was, it's a bit of a history. Actually, I wasn't really into constitutional stuff, religion and all that, but it was Shan who kind of brought me in and gave me a few cases, you know, to kind of whet my appetite. And by the time we got to Indira, I was all in. I was pretty hardcore about freedom of religion issues, and I felt very strongly about it. And why I was in it also, I saw an opportunity to do something with the law. Great set of facts, great set of comrades to run the case with, and the legal issues were interesting. So it all kind of aligned, right? And what people sometimes don't know about these cases like Indira Gandhi is how, you know, our team basically did it for free.
For free?
Yeah. So over 10 years, I tell you how we were remunerated because Kula Segran, now he's Deputy Minister of Law. Back then, he was just MP of Ipoh Barat. He needed us to go up, and he would pay us in as much watermelons and melons as we like, as much food and drink in Ipoh, right? And that's it, lah.
My goodness, 10 years and you did it for free and you were paid in watermelon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the part, but you did it for free. Fantastic, man. Well done to you. Well done.
That's the commitment you got to have if you're going to do these kind of cases. You know, you can't just do as I like and then bugger off, right? So yeah, it's a massive commitment for us, all of us, the whole team, to run that case, you know, till the end.
There's one, I would say, a very interesting back and forth you have in this book where you are talking to someone about who questions you as to why are you defending a transgender.
Yes.
Could you please relate that story?
Yeah, so that story was interesting because at that time we were doing what is known as the Muhammad Juzaili case.
Okay.
And that was a case where we were challenging the constitution of a Sharia criminal enactment which criminalized men dressing as women per se. Okay. So other states have a similar provision, but they also had an added element of behaving suspiciously as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It's such a vague.
Huh?
It's so vague.
Yeah.
Behaving suspiciously.
Yeah, behaving suspiciously and a man dressing up as a woman, right? But in Negri, it was just if a man dresses as a woman, you committed an offense. And they were going after the transgenders under that provision.
Wow.
Yeah. So this was the brainchild of my good friend Aston Phillip, and he came up with the idea. And he said, look, can you come in with me on this? You know, I'd like some support. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go. And it was around that time that I was also representing the Bar Council to vet universities for their compliance with the Certificate of Legal Profession, CLP, Certificate of Legal Profession, right? Certificate of Legal Practice, to see whether the university complies with it so that they can get an exemption for their students. These are the local universities. So that was actually at USIM, I think, University of Science Islam Malaysia. I was there, and the case had exploded already. You know, it was all in the press, and naturally, if you're a Malay, they will say, why are you doing this? You know, because it's, well, I don't know whether the provision is consistent with Islam, but here, any Malay that goes against something like that, which may right or wrongly be Islamic, you get these questions, if not condemnation, right? So I think I had it very light by the student, and he asked me about this. Why do you act for them? And you know, I mean, for me, I thought it's such a weird question, right? There's somebody has a problem. It's an unfair situation. So naturally, there'll be somebody to step in to kind of rectify this.
Yeah.
So the fact that I'm a Muslim or a Malay
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, you know. I mean, the law is the law, and
nice.
if the law is you know, is oppressive, or it's executed in an oppressive fashion, then that's unjust.
In your experience in law, do you ever? I mean, are there any laws that are existent now that you term as perhaps being unjust, perhaps being draconian?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, all these pre-trial detentions, and especially as well in, say, the freedom of religion side of things. So what some people don't realize as a convert is there are provisions in the enactments to say that once you convert into Islam, you can never leave. You must be treated under the law as a Muslim. So to me, I think that's pretty draconian, and I also think that violates Article 11 that preserves our freedom of religion to profess, practice whatever we believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, another part of, I would say, being a lawyer, and again, because I've watched too many TV shows, as you can tell,
Yes.
Is that and in fact, I have friends in law who are lawyers who sometimes I also consult before I do some interviews and all that. In fact, I did the interview with the guy who was the 1MDB whistleblower, Javier Justo.
Oh.
And I was so scared to the interview, but I called my friend and said, bro, can I do this? He's like, okay, don't say this, don't say that. He gave us the whole thing. I said, I have children, I don't want to go to jail, man.
Ah, man.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a fine interview. So, but the like, and we were talking recently over lunch, and then he was telling me about the case he was doing and all that. And I just thought to myself, like, to be a good lawyer, right? Since you do crime as well, do you need to believe in the innocence of your client to defend them properly?
No.
Man.
Yeah.
Please elaborate on that.
I mean, okay. I know, you know, if you look at it very simply, here's a guy who's trying to defend what this horrible thing this person did, right? But I take a much broader perspective of it, in a sense that, look, every trial has to be properly conducted, in a sense that, you know, you are tried before an independent tribunal who is competent to consider that case. And for me, every defense of a person accused of a crime is actually a defense of the criminal administration of justice.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, if there is no lawyer, right, then, well, you bring him to court, you bring evidence in and there's nobody to challenge it, so necessarily he will be convicted, right? So that's what happens when there's no lawyer. If there's no need for proof, you just bring them to court and then you just punish them, right? So the lawyer is there to make sure the process is fair, and when you are actually found guilty, it was after that process where you had an opportunity to challenge all that evidence, right? Yeah. So it makes the conviction safe, reasonable, and evidence-based. So that's why I have no issue. I have no issue whether the fella did it or not, and you lose a lot of criminal cases, which suggests that, maybe most of them tend to do it, But then you can't take a statistical approach to this. Every case has to be proved beyond reasonable doubt on its facts.
How do you achieve that, though? And it's not judgment. This is just curiosity,
yes.
right? If I wanted to do law, I mean, I would ask myself: is it that to be a good lawyer, I need to silence any prejudice I may have, or do I just not have any? And how do I get to that point?
Right. I look at it this way. I'm not defending the bad guy. I'm making sure you do your work properly for the prosecution. Have you crossed your T's, dot your I's, and made sure all the evidence is there? It has? Okay, I mean, what else can you say, right? So I see myself more as, if you're going to prosecute somebody for a crime, you need to do it properly, and I'm there to make sure you do it properly. Of course, I'm going to do my best to show that you didn't do it properly either, right? But if you can overcome these objections of mine, I think you deserve the verdict you get.
Okay, fair enough, man. Fair enough. I like that. Okay. Yeah. In the start of the book, you are always meeting. You talk, I think, a few senior lawyers that you have met who gave you advice. One of them was, always read the brief.
Oh yeah, that's my dad. Yeah,
that's your dad. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. What's your attitude to lawyers coming in now? Since now you are in that position. Now, what's your attitude to them?
I see a wide spectrum. Okay. On the one hand, you have what you call the savants. These guys are incredibly bright. In uni already, they're like the law nerds. They read and they just get all excited about legal points. Okay. I mean, these guys. I don't know whether to go to the extent to say they get sexually excited with this stuff, but they get really excited about this stuff, right? And on the other hand, you have what I call the mediocre or the uninterested. So you have this wide variety, and you have so many people coming in from so many different places now. So it's hard to gauge what that's like. But what I will say, sorry, what was your question again, Vinod?
No, what's your attitude to them, to these new lawyers? How do you treat them?
How do I treat them? I have to treat them very carefully. Very carefully, because they're a bit more fragile than the likes of us that came, say, about 20 over years ago, right? I notice as generally lawyers that come in now, they have more of an expectation of what is this whole career path? What I want to see everything that's going to happen from now on, kind of thing. I want these assurances that these are going to happen. Things have to be structured so that I can thrive, right? So there's a different in terms of the sense of entitlement of what they expect. Like my batch who came in, I mean, we all came in thinking, okay, we are bottom of the barrel. Everybody's going to scream and shout at us. That's our lot, but we will do our best to get out of it. Okay. Whereas now I think the lawyers tend to, how should I say, another thing that I notice also, they're very, very scared of making mistakes.
Yes.
Very scared, So sometimes I feel it inhibits them, and this happens even to some of the very intelligent ones, very, very intelligent, but I don't know sometimes whether it's the times or sometimes some of the toxicity that goes around that, they are punished very painfully and harshly for mistakes. So they get very, very anxious about this. They're all about, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to make a mistake. Whereas, my batch, man, we ran through a bunch of walls and, okay.
Which, guys, it's detailed in the book. There's many things in the book. It's fun. Now, I want to take a break from the whole serious discussion because there's one part of the book that I loved,
Yeah.
which is, as I told you all, which is the meeting. You said that there was an advice you got that every lawyer meets the occult.
Ah.
So please, being Malaysian, we love these stories.
Yes,
So
yes.
please share.
I didn't have as much as I would say my boss did.
Okay.
My boss was very much, Azzat was very much of that whole, occult part, I mean, he was the sort that, okay, if there was something going on, he would go see an ustad. Okay, like, what's wrong with me, right? I went along with everything, but I didn't see very much of that.
Okay.
So that's why that story it happened very early on in my practice. I was hoping for a bit more action after that, but it I guess they don't play that game with me.
No,
yeah. So that one was really interesting because, well, I'll just talk a little bit about it.
Sure.
They were doing all what seemed like black magic stuff in front of the office, and how it kicked off for me was we were working really late with one of my friends, and we went out for dinner. And as we were driving back, there was a sense that something's not quite right already. And when we got there, the whole front was covered with rotten egg, right? Rotten egg. And, I mean, we're both back from England. We're like, what on earth is this stuff? We didn't do anything. What did we do? So we cleaned that up and we thought, okay, that's the end of it. But, the next day then there's kunyit on the ground. The staff are all scared to go in. And
Sorry, pause. Is it true that you said in the book that you didn't know what this yellow powder was?
Yeah. I mean,
come on, man. Come on.
I didn't cook. This is how bad it was. Okay, I got to tell this story as well. When I went to England, this was how little I cooked. Right.
Okay.
To cook fried rice, I threw in the prawns, threw in the prancha, and threw in the rice and fried it. And I ate it.
Without boiling the rice?
Yeah, then I called my mom up and I said, Mom, why is the rice so crunchy? She said, Fahri, did you boil it? I was like, oh, what? You mean I got to cook the rice? And she's like, yeah, terrible. Yeah, so that's the level. So kunyit, I don't know, man. It's like, what is this stuff?
This is the first time. I've never heard that before in my life. Literally fried rice. Literal fried rice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kunyit. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so there was kunyit, and thankfully one of the staff husbands was this special branch dude. I wasn't there, but he just came in, he just brushed it off with his feet and said, look, everybody go in, right?
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And we thought that was the end of it. Then the last one was the voodoo doll, right?
Oh,
there was a doll. My boss's name was emblazoned on the front, and it was just stuck with pins. And it was left on the front of the door as well. And then, again, that freaked out the staff as well, So, yeah, I just thought all this is really funny because I don't believe in this superstition or black magic power. Yeah. So I just thought it was hilarious. I didn't enjoy the cleaning, but I thought, I don't think you will ever get this kind of practice in England or Australia, right? And I thought, yeah, this is Malaysian practice.
There we go.
Yeah.
As you start about the book, of course, as you mentioned just now, right? When you started in law, it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were a lot of hiccups, stumbles, and all along the way, right?
That's right.
Reading it, I was just thinking, like, if I were in your space, I'd be like, man, is this the right? I'll be questioning all of that. Right? Is this the right thing for me?
Yeah.
How did you survive that and to where you are today, you having your own firm?
Right. I would say, Vinod, it's something you keep questioning yourself in the early years of practice. Everybody sees me now, they're like, oh, Fahri is this lawyer, he's resolutely a lawyer. But I think for maybe the first 15, 16 years, I was still wondering.
How many? 16 years?
Yeah, 15, 16, even
wow.
then. Yeah, because... you still don't know, there's all these trouble. I'm getting better at this profession. And, but you're still wondering a little bit, what's out there for me? Is there something out there? It's not like I'm that great at this thing either, So that would always come back. You're looking at your friends and they seem to be happy and you're thinking, maybe should I do something else? Is this really for me? But I don't know. I think it was only after I set up my firm and maybe after my 20th, 21st, I felt, okay lah. Yeah, I really want to be a lawyer.
After 21st.
Yeah, after about 20, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a long wait for the affirmation from fate, if you will.
Yeah. And you know, I think things take time, you know, and yeah, it takes time, and everybody thinks you're supposed to know what you're supposed to want now. And I think it's difficult. You know, now I've got a 20-year-old boy. He's going to be 20 this year, you know. And I remember I was putting it on him and saying, look, I don't want to tell you what to do. You decide. And, you know, I would check in on him and say, so what do you thought? And he's like, I don't know, Daddy. And I was thinking to myself, actually, what the heck did I know at 18? I didn't know what I want to do. I had stupid ambitions like I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a playboy, right? Those are not proper jobs, right?
Particularly the playboy part.
Yeah,
like
the playboy
that's-
part. You know, you need both that money and all that, right? So, yeah. So I thought maybe it was a good thing my dad just told me what to do, you know, and let you figure it out, lah. And I think now there's just so much. How should I say? So much burden on these kids to know now what they're supposed to want.
From a very young age.
From a very young age. And I feel now actually, let them just study whatever they want to study, you know, because let them find their own way. Because I keep coming across people who their parents have forced them into medicine, engineering, accountancy, and my God, they get out of it, they go to law school, they sit for CLP, they do the pupillage, and then they come out. And I'm thinking, that's a whole lot of effort, you know, right? If you ask me, I like to do psychology now, but am I going to study for that and do that whole thing now? I'm like, no lah, you know? So even they also figured that, okay, maybe it started out with my parents' idea, this would be it, but it wasn't, you know? And okay, now you find out,
All right.
right?
I mean, after you, I mean, that's crazy to wait so long to get your affirmation. That's crazy, right? But the thing is, like, after that whole conversation you had with your mom, which I must say, I think it will resonate with everyone. It resonates with everyone. Now that you are saying that you're saying, look, those conversations are not right. Let them do whatever they want, right? But in your journey, did your parents ever come back and sort of commend you on what you had done on the way that you have achieved and sort of the whole lawyer that you have become?
Yeah. Yeah, but my parents are very, very subtle, right? So they always hold back from praising me too much because they don't want it to go to my head, right?
Yeah, Asian parents,
yeah,
right?
Asian parents,
There we
yeah.
go, there we go. Same
So I knew it happened when my dad one night came back from a wedding, and I think I was in my 30s then, and he says, "Hey, you know, Fahri, tonight. You know what I was known as?" I said, "What?" Fahri's father.
Oh, nice.
And I was like,
oh,
oh,
nice, man.
wow. He's like, well, it looks like this changing of the guard is happening. lah.
Well
Right?
done, man.
Yeah.
Very happy.
So yeah, I mean, that's it for my dad. Lah.
Okay.
Right?
Now, in I think it's sort of like the midsection of the book, you talk about what sort of lawyer people expect you to be. Or what sort of lawyer you are, right?
Yeah.
There are different types. So what sort of lawyer are you now?
That's a very good question. I don't know sometimes how to describe myself. My friend called me a unicorn with rainbow shooting out of his ass kind of thing. It's not far
Please
wrong.
explain that because I don't understand how that.
I mean, I'm just different lah. Just
Okay.
kind of, yeah, this strange thing. Yeah, sorry. Just give me a question again, Vinod.
Like, what sort of lawyer are you now? Like, because in the book you talk about some lawyers are aggressive, some lawyers are,
Yeah.
and then you talk about the importance of being, despite those people, you have to be still calm and collected and have certain integrities, right?
Yes,
It's the kind of
that's
thing,
right.
ethics. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, what sort of lawyer are you?
I try to align with my own values and how I feel about things. So I'm very much about what I like to think of as, I don't want to put such a label, but I think of it as humanistic lawyering in a sense that, yes, we have a legal matter, but I'm looking at the whole of you, right? And I'm thinking, okay, you know, how can I solve your legal problem? And is there some input I can give to how to to kind of help you out of that hole as well. I would caveat it and say maybe you want to look at this, like say for family matters or even for freedom of religion matters, right? I would tell them, okay, this is going to be tough. This is going to be difficult. And you got to remember about your psychology as well, your emotions, and keep that in check. And I would say, maybe you want to talk to somebody about this, maybe to a therapist or something. So that's one angle, right? I'm also somebody who believes in, as a firm, I like to think of us as a family, right? We take care of each other. You know, we help out each other. We're not there to, how should I say, compete outright against each other. So I very much want to build this sense that, look, we're all here to have fun. We will make some money, don't worry. Just because you have fun doesn't mean you're not going to make money, right? But I want them to I want my lawyers especially to appreciate that you can enjoy and have a practice that you enjoy, where you help people as well. And it doesn't have to be this miserable, dreadful experience, you know? So partly that is my approach. And yeah, I know it may sound strange that I'm a lawyer, I'm a litigator, but I usually like people to try and settle first, right? Because, yeah, you want to move on in life, right? Sometimes legal disputes get in the way of that. And some people don't have the awareness to see how this dispute fits into your larger life and how maybe it's not helpful, right? So yeah, so I take that kind of approach lah. More, yeah, less commercial in
More
terms
human.
of more human lah. I like to think.
But
of it as
actually,
more
that's
human.
not surprising to me, because if you read this, I mean, you wrote it, but if anyone were to read this book, they would get that, because there's one example that really sums that up, where you had this client, this company, I think you refer to them as Company B, who was suing Company A for some
Oh, yeah.
contractual things.
Yes.
And and one part that I couldn't believe, and I want to ask you about it, was that you actually told the client that, look, you're not going to win this case.
Yeah.
Like, don't waste your time. And you use the term, there are many ways to sort of show them, and one way is to go about, what I think you told them to like work harder or
Yeah.
make more money,
Yeah, just
go for
beat
an
them at the
IPO.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like, are you that honest to your clients, and does that help?
Not all clients appreciate it, but yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to do a stupid thing, I got to tell you, you know, and if you're somebody, and they were really insistent on it, because it was like an ego fight, you know, and so for me, when I'm really confident about this matter is not going to fly at all, I will just tell you, because I want you not to waste your money and your time on this, right? And unless you tell me this is for a strategic reason or there's some other plausible reason for us doing this, I don't like doing stupid things lah. You know, because I'm the one that has to stand in front of the judge and explain this, right?
Yeah.
And the judge is not going to think it's all the client. The judges always think they are advised by the lawyer, and it's probably this is the lawyer's idea. So naturally, whether my client, whether sometimes they don't take the heat from this, right? We have to stand there, explain this position, and sometimes you realize this is just indefensible.
Interesting, because there's one part where you talk about how a lawyer is some of your clients want to use you as sort of like a conduit for their rage, for their unhappiness, right?
That's right.
And then you use this term, you say, but we are your independent legal counsel.
That's right.
How independent are you in reality? I mean, can you really work without caring about your clients' thoughts and opinions and just defend them based on the law?
Only in very, very narrow, exceptional circumstances. One of them would be when you are faced with the death penalty. When you're used to be faced with the death penalty or capital offense punishment. So back then, before if it was a death penalty, there's nothing you can do about it. You have to fight it, whether it's good or bad, because there's nothing you can do.
Okay.
Right? So those were the kind of cases. But generally, I would say when it comes to situations like this, lawyers can take two kinds of positions. One is to say, okay, fine. If you disagree with my advice, go find another lawyer that agrees, right? Another is to say, okay, fine. This is what you want. I'll put down my opinion here to tell you this is precisely what I think, and you know the risk of running this. If you still want to go ahead, okay, let's do it. You know, but that's in relation to something that's not illegal, lah, right? Yeah. So if it's within the boundaries of legality, it's really depending on the lawyer, right? So for me, if I feel very, very strongly that look, this is not only going to make we're not only going to lose, but I'm going to look so bad on this as well. It's a brief. I can say, I'm thankful I'm in this position where I can decline it, right? I know there are lawyers who may say, I can't decline this, right? So it also depends. Like for me, I'm grateful I have that privilege right now.
You know, I mean, this next few questions is selfish because it's from my being a fan of all these things.
Go
right?
for it, man. Yeah.
So I just want to ask you, like, have you ever defended someone and then they were found innocent? I think the word is acquitted. Right? Is that
acquitted, yeah.
Okay, there we go. See, guys, I know my law jargon. But then you found out that they were guilty after.
No. I haven't had such a dramatic case like that, thankfully. Yeah.
Okay. Now, recently, of course, on Netflix, there was this new documentary on the OJ trial, right? OJ Simpson. We all know OJ Simpson, big famous thing, right? And I was watching it, and it was very interesting way they did it, whereby the first half, they make you think that OJ really did it, really did it. And then the second half, because of his lawyers, which was, Johnny Cochran and all those people, they sort of fill you with doubt. So I could feel myself as a juryman, and I'm thinking here that could be the entire objective of the filmmaker, right? They want you to be the jury.
Yes.
And I was like, shit, man. Halfway, I'm like, wait, did he do it? Like, was it racism?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I was gonna think. So then after that, of course, he's found not guilty in the criminal case, right? And then I thought to myself, I said, is this the sort of negative side of having a jury system? Like because we had a jury system before, right?
Yes.
So in your opinion, which is better, the jury system or having a judge?
There are pros and cons to both, right? There are pros and cons to both. I would say if you look at it from the standpoint of anti-corruption, I would say jury trial seems to be better because you got to bribe a whole lot of people to get the verdict you want, as opposed to one person. Okay. Right. So that's the distinction. But I mean, from a practitioner point of view, I will say, when you have jury trials, you can use sentiment, right? So you can use emotive language and stuff like that to kind of sway them. Whereas with a judge, he's not going to be swayed by sentiment. Yeah, he is purely on the law and the elements, and have you fulfilled it to a particular threshold, which he's supposed to be competent at. So we are so used to practicing with a judge, without any jury trials. So of course, people like us will be chomping at the bit to want to do this jury kind of closing speech, lah. Right? Yeah. Of course. Yeah. If we see all the US ones, we're like, man, we can't do this stuff. So, but from a secure point, I will say I would much prefer a judge. Okay. A judge who, but then you have issues with that as well, right? Because judges, well, prosecutorial-minded judges tend to be rewarded by the system, lah, right? You don't look great as a judge if you're acquitting a whole bunch of people. Right? Yeah. So you have these systemic issues that arise, right? But for me, on balance, to me, if you have an independent, fair-minded judge, I would prefer that over a jury. Okay. Because it's more open, 50-50 with a jury. You can't tell.
Now, I want to get back to what sort of you were discussing earlier, which is sort of your entrance into law, right? Which is basically what this book generally is about. Yes. And interestingly, in the start, right, although you may not have liked law, because you say that it was maybe your fourth option, I think. It wasn't your first option, right? But everything you did with regards to law turned to gold. You started a blog, firstly, Lawyer Buruk, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, that's with some friends.
Friends, and then you talk about how it was quoted in some journals or stuff like that. And then you started your blog, which is what is now is a book, and now you have your own firm and all that. What do you accredit your success to, and can you just relate that with? Because I want to ask a question for people who may want to get into law, such as me back when.
Right.
I wish there was a podcast like this for me to listen to. But like, if I wanted to become a lawyer and achieve the success you have, what traits should I have?
I think the first thing is to, even though I didn't choose it, by the time I got in, I thought, look, I'm here. I've got this opportunity. My father's a lawyer. Let's make the best of this, and let's give it a good shot, lah. Right? Okay. So, what is this idea of a lawyer? Let's try to inhabit that whole role as a lawyer, and I think I like to think I've been dedicated to that. Yeah, that ideal of a lawyer, of my ideal of a lawyer, and to me, that ideal of a lawyer is to remember what exactly we do, right? And which is to provide legal advice and representation so people can have their cases resolved in a fair way. And so my values have always been about that, about let's try to resolve people's problems meaningfully and seriously, not just going through the motions, right? But let's genuinely try to solve this. And the solution may not always be a legal one. It doesn't have to be, right? But if it is, that's what I can bring to this dimension. So I try to live up to my ideal of a lawyer, to be reasonable, to be fair, respectful, and always trying to act in the greater good. Okay. For genuinely for the public interest, without trying to interpose myself, let the issues speak for themselves, and like, here it is, okay, to try and not use it as an instrumental kind of tool.
Okay. Yeah. Now, before we go to the last segment of this interview, which is a bit on government and all that, so right?
Yeah, okay.
I have one or two hot questions there for you, buddy.
All right.
Yeah. But before that, I'm just so curious about this. In all of your years practicing law, what are some of the memorable cases that you've been part of that still stick in your mind till today?
Oh, well, naturally Indira Gandhi, Muhammad Juzaili, Viren Nagapan. I mean, those are the famous cases. There was a recent case, Ramat, where we managed to secure an acquittal at the federal court after they lost in the High Court and Court of Appeal.
What was the case about?
A murder case.
Okay.
Yeah, but the High Court kind of messed up from the legal process side, so the federal court eventually set it aside. But sometimes it's not just those big cases, but it's also the silly and stupid cases which nobody reads or not reported, Like there was once, I think it was a crazy suit. I think we sued this couple for a conspiracy to defraud our client. And basically, she was like kind of seducing him to marry her, right? And yeah, it was crazy. And
man, your life is like Netflix. It's like watching a show, an episode every day, something new.
Yeah. So later we sued back for the money, and they put in a counterclaim for rape, and I was like, what? What insanity is this? But these are the funny ones, lah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so of course, this is a political podcast, so I do talk a lot about a lot of politics and all that, right? So I just want to ask you, from your opinion, do you really see a difference in the split between government and the legal system compared to, from before and compared to now? That means during the BN times and versus what it is now. Is there a larger separation? Is there no separation? What is your thoughts?
Separation as in between the organs of government?
Yeah, organs of government.
Okay, I think the executive side and the legislature are always a bit incestuous because of all the same people who are more or less in there, right? I think the judiciary because of Tengku Maimun has kind of separated itself a bit more, right? It's shown its independence. It's shown that it's not afraid of the executive. So I think that's a very important and powerful thing. Yeah, between legislature and executive, man, I don't see much lah. In fact, it seems even tighter, right, as compared to the other one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that it feels like there has been a change.
Okay. Now, in the of course, recently as well, there's been a big hoo-ha about the maintenance of SOSMA, which is not going to be revisited. It's not going to be, and it's just going to be as it is.
Yeah.
Do you think that's sort of good for us in the long run?
No, these kind of legislations are always open to abuse. And, looking at political assurances, I think they're worthless. They're worthless not because they're not going to actually do something about it, but it's also worthless from a legal standpoint. I can't nail you to it and get myself a relief as against that legislation. So, if you look at it, you look at our constitution as well. Tunku Abdul Rahman was saying right from 1955, 56 that we're supposed to be a circular country, and he gave all these assurances. But where are we now, right? ISA, it's only going to be used for communists, and it won't be used for. Where are we now, right? How it was used. So draconian kind of legislation, and in the hands of the powerful. I don't know, man. It looks pretty obvious to me. Yeah. 1 + 1, right?
Close to, yes, that's always, yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, let's. I don't go too much into it because I want to keep the focus on your book, and I don't want to upset Gerak Budaya as well.
Yeah, suddenly for no reason they get another visit.
Right? What's up, guys? I thought you guys were a podcast talking about some books. Anyway, so okay, I always ask this to authors who come on. I thought I would end this with you. What can I expect if I purchase this book?
Well, you will get an insight into what it's like to grow up in legal practice. You will see the difficulties and the challenges of somebody fresh into legal practice. And also to take heart that, look, it's always going to start off messy. We're always going to look incompetent at the start. But don't worry, just keep going and you'll get there. Right? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Fahri, for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure, Vinod. Thanks for having me.
I hope you had a good time. I truly enjoyed it. I would love to have you on again. I think you're a great guy to talk to about a lot of other things as well. So we can discuss more topics later on, perhaps.
Bring it on, man.
Bring it on.
All right.
And I hear that you also want to start your own sort of channel as well. You're starting?
Well, after looking at this setup, I think I may just think a bit more about that.
Well, if you want somebody to organize it, I can be your moderator. Don't worry. Call me. Give me a call.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's all we have for you guys. The book is called From the Bar Stool by Mr. Fahri Azzat, right? Fahri Azzat. Now, it's like I said before, I love this book in the sense that it's a very fun read, and you'll find a lot of interesting stories here and anecdotes as from a lawyer. The man is a successful lawyer, comes from very successful law pedigree, if you will, and we're so proud of the success that he's had, man. Well done to you. And so, guys, the book is available on Gerak Budaya. We'll be sharing all the links in the videos in our TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify as well. This interview will come out on Friday, so please stay tuned for this interview. A lot of amazing things have been discussed, and I can't wait to have you back on again.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.